Republicans are going to vote today on a budget that exposes their party to what they really are. Their balanced budget is not balanced, and if anyone by any stretch of the imagination could call it their budget balanced, one would have to understand what they've done to get there. For example, they've repealed in their budget the estate tax, just gotten rid of it, which will benefit 0.2% of all people in America today. They eliminate health care. They really hurt people trying to go to college with the Pell Grant slashes they've made. It is hard to comprehend how they can, in good conscience, move forward on this budget, but that's what they're going to do. They talked about that on the floor this morning. My counterpart, the Republican leader, talked about what a tough time they had in conference. Yeah, I'll bet it was really hard, wasn't it? And I think that Senator Schumer on this floor this morning gave a statement that I thought was really said it all. If they like this budget so much, why don't they bring their appropriation bills forward modeled after their budget? No one would vote for that, even the Republicans. So I am disappointed that they've come up with this budget they have. It's bad for the American people, and certainly it sends really a negative image of the Republican Party. Senator Durbin?
How many times have we heard the Republicans tell us the government should not pick winners and losers, right? This budget picks winners and losers. And it's very specific. 4,000 Americans who have an estate worth at least $10 million are the winners. They're each going to win about $3 million in tax relief from the Republican budget. Well, then who are the losers? Well, the losers might be 27 million Americans losing their health insurance under the Republican budget, 23 million using community health care clinics that are cut under the Republican budget, 11 million who are benefiting from Pell Grants. They're the losers. What this decision is by the Republicans is to reward a few, 4,000 with the states, or those who want to move their corporations overseas at the expense of working families across America. I really have to accept the challenge that Senator Schumer mentioned. Bring it to the floor. Let's vote on it. Let's see if the 23, 24 Republican senators up for re-election this time really want to run on this platform, a platform that makes it more difficult for kids to go to college, a platform that says, oh, incidentally, and when your kids get out of college, since we've abolished the Affordable Care Act, they don't have any health insurance. That's what they want to run on? Be my guest. Those 4,000 winners aren't enough to win an election.
Sure.
Well, thank you, Dick, and thank you, my colleagues. Republicans talk about bootstrapping your way up the economic ladder. This budget would cut the straps right off the boots of millions of middle-class Americans while giving the wealthy another pair. It's just, they are living in an ideological hall of mirrors. Middle-class incomes are declining. It's harder to get into the middle class. And they put their emphasis on the top 1%, the group who doesn't need the help. $260 billion to help 4,000 of the wealthiest families in America a year, while at the same time raising taxes on 16 million working-class Americans making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year, $900 each. How about students? Making it harder to go to college when the middle class is struggling? Telling those who already have debt that the program to reduce that debt after 10 years should go away? Telling veterans who may have been wounded, may have PTSD, may have had trouble getting readjusted, that they don't get food stamps and they have to starve? What is going on here? It's amazing how our colleagues are paying attention to a few on the hard right and not looking at where America is at. And so I challenge them on the floor. In the appropriations process, use your budget as a guideline and then file appropriations bills on each of these provisions. That's the real world. This is sort of right-wing fantasy land. Let's see how many of them vote for it. How many of them will vote to cut Pell Grants? How many of them will vote to cut student loans? How many of them will vote to cut help for veterans? How many of them will vote to cut cancer research? How many of them will vote to cut help for people with Alzheimer's in nursing homes? They won't. This is sort of their little fun and games. See, right-wing leaders, we believe in you. But it's so out of touch with America, they will never, thank God, implement it. And so, the good news, today isn't the end of the process, budget process for Republicans. We're at the halfway point. The path ahead to the appropriations is treacherous, given this budget, given how far over it is, given how far detached from reality it is. But we are willing to work with them to straighten out this mess and finally help middle-class Americans. Republicans have a choice. They can gut key programs that the middle class relies on, underfund defense, and attempt to make up the Pentagon budget with accounting gimmicks, risking another shutdown later this year, or they can start right now working with us to find a balanced way to adequately fund the government. We're eager to work with them. We hope that our Republican colleagues will throw this budget blueprint in the trash, tell their top 1%, okay, we did you a favor, but we're not doing a budget like you want us to do. We're not doing appropriations bills, rather, like you want us to do, because America won't let us.
Senator Murray.
We have so much that we should be doing to make sure our economy is growing from the middle out, not from the top down. Last week, we introduced our Raise the Wage Act to increase the minimum wage $12 by 2020 and give millions of workers a raise. Many of us are very interested in helping middle-class families afford child care and education. We want to work on legislation to increase access to paid sick days because no worker should have to choose between their health and their livelihood. And of course, we think that Congress should work together to build on our bipartisan budget deal and restore investments in education and research and defense jobs. Democrats want to work on issues like these because we believe the government should work for all of our families, not just the wealthiest few. That is why it is so disappointing that instead of working with us to deliver results for our constituents, Republicans continue to push their partisan, trickle-down budget that does nothing to help the middle class, protects the wealthiest Americans and biggest corporations, and leaves seniors, the middle class, and working families behind. This isn't just a partisan budget that would hurt families across the country. This is also a missed opportunity. The Republican budget that is being debated today would lock in the automatic cuts under sequestration, cuts that many Republicans agree are not sustainable and not realistic. Not only do many Republicans agree the sequester caps are terrible policy, but the President has said he would veto spending bills at these sequester levels. But instead of working with us to fix this issue, Republicans are ignoring it. They kicked the can down the road, ignored the lessons they should have learned from 2013, and pushed us one step closer to another budget crisis. This is disappointing, but hopefully this is the last step Republicans need to take to appease the Tea Party when it comes to this year's budget. Once they finish their partisan budget, I'm hopeful that they do come back to the table, work with us on a bipartisan budget deal, allow the Appropriations Committee to do the work they need to do, and not wait for another budget crisis to force them back to the table.
I hear a voice.
Senator McConnell said that he is the majority leader, not you, and that he is going to TPA next after the Iran bill. How would you stop him from doing that?
Who's he trying to convince, him or me? So what was the question?
The question is, how will you stop him from moving from the Iran bill to the Trade Promotion Authority?
It's not a question of my stopping him. Here's the situation. If things go as the schedule is outlined, we're going to finish the Iran bill a week from Thursday. That leaves, by my calculation, 1 week before the Memorial Day recess. I can't imagine why the trade bill is so vitally important that it would trump the FISA bill, which is going to expire at the end of this month, or trump the highway bill, which authorization expires at the end of this month. I can't imagine what the rush is. I mean, the trade bill, we can come back after we do something on those two bills, which are so important to our country, and then work on the trade bill. So I don't know if his math is different than mine, but I kind of understand how the floor works, and I think it would really be unwise for him to leave here without doing something on FISA and highways. Now, what I've heard, and from his comments here earlier this afternoon, I guess that they're in the posture, as Senator Durbin mentioned a few minutes ago, the McConnell administration will be known as the Extension Court administration. They want to extend things. They want to extend the FISA bill. They want to extend the highway bill. We've been doing a lot of that extension cord stuff for far too long. It is unwise and unfair for us to continue when we have about 65,000 bridges who are in desperate need of repair. We have our highway system, which is in deep trouble, and we're going to extend that for a couple months. I think that's wrong, or 3 months or 4 months. I think there comes a time when we have to do something for the American people. I announced on the floor today, we have 6 states that have stopped their highway construction. Stopped it. They have no money. And other states will be joining on very soon. The money basically all runs out in about 30 days from the time we leave here. So it's unfortunate that he thinks it's so important to satisfy the Chamber of Commerce and others to do the trade bill before you do any of those other 2 important things.
Senator McConnell told you when he's going to file cloture on the Iran bill and what the schedule might be on that bill?
No, as you saw in this morning's press, he hadn't told Senator Cornyn as of this morning. So he hasn't told me either.
Senator Reid, on trade, do you share the concerns of some of your colleagues who accuse the administration of being secretive in terms of limiting lawmakers' access to information, text of the deal, negotiations? Have they been secretive with you?
They haven't been secret of me because I know what's in the document, generally speaking, and have enough knowledge of the bill that I don't care. I know how bad it is, so I'm not going to be out trying to. I'm leaving this to my colleagues to parse out what's good and bad in the bill. I have an idea how I'm headed. I've said that for weeks.
Senator Reid, do you have enough votes, though, from the Democratic caucus, including the Senate Democrats who support the TPA bill, in order to, prevent cloture on the motion to proceed?
Have to wait and see.
Are you working to round those up?
But you understand, we have some issues. You talked about TPA. TPA is not the name of the game. I know enough about the trade stuff to know there are 3 other very important provisions. And I feel that if it's going to be fair, they have to be brought together in one piece of legislation. And because I am not going to stand by and allow them to pass TPA and leave the others blowing in the breeze. That would be unfair. If he does that, I think we feel strongly enough of us that we would not allow that to happen.
On FISA legislation.
How come you always muscle in?
He's such a nice guy, Harry.
Okay, go ahead.
On the FISA legislation, Senator McConnell just said that the bill that he introduced with Senator Burr, which is a clean extension, would be the base bill. Could you see yourself voting for any clean extension of those FISA provisions of any length?
First of all, FISA should not be an issue now. We tried to pass it last Congress. We would have, but they filibustered it. The House is going to pass a bill next week. They would pass it this week, but they're not here. And it's a bill that changes FISA as we know it. That bill is almost identical to one that came out of the Judicial Committee over here led by Senator Leahy. The wise thing to do would be to pass that bill because I think there's significant votes in the Democratic and Republican caucus here in the Senate to do just that. And graciously, Senator Leahy has said, I'm not going to have any qualms about you moving to the House bill, and let's get that done. So I think that I think it's going to be extremely hard for Senator McConnell, who said he wants a 5-year extension, to get that done, because I think the vast majority of the Republican House caucuses over here don't want an extension of the old bill. They want something new.
Senator, what would be wrong in principle with having the Rubio amendment or the Cotton amendment or both attached to the Iran deal? And what do you think
Okay. We're back to Iran now. The delicate compromise that came out of that Foreign Relations Committee is really a fine piece of work. It's historic what was done by that committee. 19-0. You don't see that happen very often. And we brought that to the floor and tried to cooperate as much as we could until we realized that every amendment the Republicans offered was to denigrate and hurt and destroy that bill. We're not going to do that. Senator McConnell has the ability to get the bill adopted, and it's up to him to do it. We're not going to do it for him. Thanks.